The funniest thing was when we were up the mountain filming in the Peak District, and we went through basically all the different kind of weathers that the world could throw at us.
And it was raining and hailing.
The ground was slippery.
And people would fall down.
I fell over.
The wind was terrible.
And poor Irina was in a beautiful dress.
Basically when we was all going up the top of the Derwent Edge, and just to see everybody trying to get up to that point where we got, which is pretty much the halfway point, and obviously Jason wanted to go far beyond that point that day, but the rain came down.
And we were trying to make Irina's makeup look perfect, and we've had Jason and Brett had an umbrella over the camera and the wind was whipping up.
And although it looked quite nice and the sun was out, it was probably quite cold, and like I said, ferocious wind, and Irina trying to act all calm and, you know, smooth.
And that was probably one of the hardest moments, but also really funny. We were a great group that day, so we had a good humour about it. And we were all slipping over in the mud, and I'm not sure if it comes across in the video or looks very, very perfect and quite a nice day, but actually it was a really wild and windy, wet day and really freezing cold. Irina was shivering quite a lot.
It sounds horrible, but it was a bit funny. We had this song in the album Kaby Vedala, Russian folk song, that is possibly the favorite song from the whole album, and we wanted to do the new music video for the band. We thought that Kaby Vedala would probably be the best choice. So we decided to make the music video for Kaby Vedala, and because this song has such a strong energy to it, it's written by people, the song that came through the centuries and gathered the wisdom of people living through these times. It's got quite simple words, but the meaning is very powerful. Also because this year is the 10th anniversary of 9/11 events, it's a good time to do this project, to have some kind of a closure to it. I always wanted to write the song about 9/11 and my experiences of that and what I feel about it, but I could never find the right words and could never find the right tunes for that. Every time I tried to do something, I just couldn't for some reason. And because we had this Russian folk song already that has the essence of the meaning of life and death, and it's written by folk people, the song that came through the centuries of folk wisdom, and we saw that this song has everything what I ever wanted to say, and there was no need to write our own song for that. When I heard it the first time, it was recorded from some Russian village, an old lady singing without any musical accompaniment.
I really like the song. It's my favorite song. Just the chord sequence, the mood of the song.
I just put it on the guitar and sang to how I felt it, keeping the tune obviously of words. So what you hear, it is MuHa variation of the Russian folk song, but because we are folks as well, we are people, it's a folk song. When you sing the folk song, you can interpret it to how you like it. In MuHa, it's normally Dmitry who put the solos and make a character to the song.
Irina's arrangement of the song inspired my part that I played. Well, recording was difficult because we recorded all the tracks over about 3 years. Never thought of it as releasing an album, being serious. Just Irina wrote the song and we recorded. then when it came to a proper mix, a lot of problems with recording, the parts, how we played it, and the arrangements came up. And I've spent several months working really hard to improve it.
To choose the filmmakers for this project, we advertised on several websites, art jobs and social networks.
And we invited people to write a proposal as to how they would approach the song. We gave the song to the filmmakers to listen to, and the story of the song as well.
And through that I got in touch with Brett. That was actually how I'd met him before, but this was the first project I've actually worked with him, and this was the first one. I contacted him.
Jason emailed me and said that there's a project that it's a competition basically to work with a band and produce a music video. Jason showed me the email. We spent basically a whole entire day writing up the synopsis, writing out, our CVs, and literally it's the whole day just like focused on that, bashed it out, sent it into them, into MuHa.
We had a very long selection process. And some applications were good, some were not.
And we had quite a good response. We had to go through about 25 applications. Some of them were very strong, and unfortunately we had to choose only one.
Brett Metal Films came back with the most exciting and interesting proposal, and also one that we thought we could work with, and a meeting of minds.
We thought that they had quite a good mix of the skills, and Brett is more technical, and Jason is more creative, in my opinion. I don't know, maybe they have different opinions. And they work together quite efficiently, and throughout the whole project I was very happy that we made the right choice.
I absolutely agreed with Irina, because her choice is most important, because she's the driving force of the band.
And from there from there I could say, the rest is history, pretty much.
There was a specific moment when we were shooting the lanterns at night, and I fired my lantern and I kept it on the ground, and it heated so much then it almost started jumping under my arm, and I was holding it, and then I made a wish and I let it go up to the sky, and I felt such a burst of positive energy coming through me. I started jumping around and yelling hooray, and it felt very positive experience. That was probably the highlight. It was quite intense.
I think the lanterns, because it was such a difficult shoot that night, that was the most, I think that sticks in my head because it looks so good on film as well. Once we got out there and once we started looking at what we was getting, it worked quite well, and it just stuck there because it's exactly how we envisioned it as well, so it just put it into place. It's like, yeah, that will, I think, for me, be the most memorable part.
Initially, we did set out to go to a lot of different locations to really get that emphasis on Irina and the character exploring through different sort of aspects of nature. But we found that Derwent Edge just had everything. It had the waterfalls, it had the forest, it had the mountain range, it had all the different textures and colours that we were looking for.
I mean, the locations, we've pretty much chose, there was 2 different locations. The main location was at Derwent Edge, which was pretty much the entire music video.
And it was brilliant, and we ended up only using that and one other location, which was the beginning location of the surrounding trees. And
in particular, I like the location when we recorded bass and guitar, and I like the setting, the trees, and how we were placed in those trees. That was brilliant.
yeah, I think they worked perfectly. They did exactly what I think we were looking for from the synopsis.
I think in relation to this song, it fell into place because Irina, noticed parts like the waterfall. It represents, and we were trying to make it a representation of Irina's story. So the locations, I think, some of them by choice actually fell into place. Some of them, it was like a mistake, but one of those mistakes where it's like, oh, it actually works. So, I think the process there with the locations, it worked out in the end.
We specifically didn't want to include any imagery of falling towers, because when people talk about 9/11, they talk about the terrorist attacks, and they show the imagery of the falling towers and fire and disaster. What we wanted to celebrate is the lives of those people, because people had life before that. All those people who died in 9/11, they had families, and they had children and parents and friends, and they had such history before 9/11, and that's what we wanted to talk about, personal journey, how the families deal with it. I'm as a family, as 9/11 family, I came through the process of understanding and accepting eventually what has happened, and that is about the personal journey and feelings of the families. Working with creative people is important to give them the freedom to do what they want, because if you tell people what to do, they just transform your ideas without any personal input. Whereas when you give the creative freedom to people, they can make some unexpected and fantastic results that you would never have thought of. Therefore, I saw that we made the right choice with the filmmakers and giving them the freedom to do what they want, and I found that was brilliant.
The highlights for me have just been just having that creative freedom to just go out there and just, and really try and work with Irina and the band to just come up with something that we feel reflects the message that they're trying to get across with that particular song. And that's what I love doing. I love just, working with people and coming up and finding the visuals to tell the story that, that the band wants to tell.
One of the interesting parts was the very start when me and Jason, once we'd got the project, we started doing some test shoots, and obviously we went out and got a lot of cutaway footage.
The most interesting part of making this video was the macro photography and being able to just see things on a new level, which I couldn't have done before, because your eyes just can't focus that close. And using that to with the textures and the colours and things that I'd find, using that to emphasise the feeling within the video as cutaways.
The test shoots was good because me and Jason put together a short video which we presented to Irina and the rest of the guys. And that was interesting because, they saw the development, we saw the development, more than they did, because we had a more clear idea of what we was going to do compared to, say, the synopsis of what it was really about. So I think that was the most interesting part, like experimenting, It was really quite an experimental video for us both.
I loved everything. From the moment when we got the idea about making the music video project, through to finding the crew, to actually going to locations and do the video shootings in different situations.
I think we were incredibly lucky with the the amount of people that actually, the really talented photographers that just were willing to just come in and help out and document the all of the near enough all of the shoots. People like Mel Whedon and Louise Clements, they just among others, they just took some beautiful photography, and definitely it's something now that I would have on every film shoot I have, because it for things like this, for the making of documentaries, and just for reflecting on afterwards, as well as just having it there as evidence. It's just brilliant.
I think locations was difficult because I think because we chose such dramatic locations, and obviously we tried not to make it look like their last music video, which was sort of a similar kind of landscape feel.
Difficult? Don't think so, really. I enjoyed every minute of the filming, and I love coming up with the ideas and just the whole process. I love.
Primarily with the editing, I think After Effects for me, that was difficult because we only had so many lanterns on the day. I had to duplicate quite a few more. It just gets complicated when you're trying to deal with so many elements in one composition. When we was editing, Jason especially, he cut it together to points where the music changed as well, to the beat as well. So it was difficult to try and figure out what we needed and what was going to fit in those gaps to the amount of footage that we had. So there were difficult parts all the way through. It wasn't an easy process.
The project wasn't easy for me personally. It was difficult on emotional part and on physical part as well. Emotionally, I found it hard to actually talk about it. I kept silent for 10 years, and I thought this is a good timing to start talking about it. But when I actually started to promote the project, to talk about the video, about the ideas, talking to the press, explaining what we're doing and why we're doing, for me, every time I had to write something down or talk to somebody, it wasn't easy.
The lanterns, that was the most unexpected part because of the weather that was just throwing it off. It messed everything up.
I think one of the most unexpected things of the project was, I suppose, how much we enjoyed the process from having the creative thinking sessions, knowing the song really well, working it through to the ideas stage, seeing it on paper, and then actually working it through from the early stages through to post-production and the filming itself.
To be honest, I don't know if it sounds bad, but just the warmth and the friendliness of the band, and how welcoming they were, and how especially Irina, how she just wanted us to just run with our ideas and just be as creative as we could, and just and then just being really supportive of that. And I definitely think I wouldn't have, or myself and Brett, we wouldn't have come up with as good a video if in other situations.
The enthusiasm and positive attitude of our filmmakers. When I lost my bindi in the mountains and I had no idea where to find it and where I lost it, Brad actually took the initiative to go down the mountains, and it was a miracle that he actually found it, to the surprise of everybody.
Yeah, favourite part I think was after we'd got all the footage, after the 4-day shoots, all the cutaways that we got, going back to that and looking through what we'd actually got, what was actually usable, from stuff with Irina to the instruments with Dimitri and Louise to all the cutaways, every single thing. It was great to look at that and go, right, let's look at the synopsis we originally wrote, let's look at how this story's going to start panning out now. And it was just filling in the gaps, because we had it in our head. But then from there, the best part was, when you edit that together, because that's when you create your monster. That's when you create exactly what you've envisioned and what you planned.
I think the final video is fantastic. I think it's really beautiful, really cinematic. I love the scenery, I love the locations, I love particular moments, especially enjoy the waterfall section of the film and of the video, and I think it's really brilliantly produced and really happy with it.
The video is fantastic. The close-ups, the scenery, the dress looks amazing.
I like the fact that it's not filmed as a band playing. The images are driving force of the visual part of this video.
I think the outcome is not necessarily better than we thought, but we're really happy with the locations that we filmed at and the ideas that we came up with along the way as well. So it was a real creative process. Even though we had a structure in mind and a story to tell through the song, we were quite excited and happy to be part of that creative process and see it grow and develop and be able to add our ideas in as it grew as a project.
Taking it from nothing to final outcome, having involved so many people, enthusiastic, creative and positive people, it's just the whole process was a lot of fun. So the final video couldn't be anything less than it is.
The expectation was from what we originally sort of wrote as a synopsis, because there was it changed slightly, you know, to fit how exactly we want the story that we exactly wanted to get across, as you know, from what we knew of the video before we even knew that it was about, you know, the 9/11 attacks and, you know, Irina's father. I think from that point it was a lot different to actually what the outcome was. So that was there was massive changes definitely there within making that.
I think expectations-wise, I did originally have thoughts of what it would be and how and the feeling. I knew from the word go, I think myself and Brett both knew what kind of feeling we wanted to have throughout, you know, and how we wanted it to evolve and change through the colours, being cold and sort of unforgiving at the start, and then through the colours and how the character Irina is exploring through the song and through the video. It then comes to the end where she's releasing, and she's all warm with the lanterns, and then there's the release of the sort of the bad memories, and that is pretty much what we said in the synopsis. The only thing I think we might have changed with the synopsis was the start. We wanted it to be very cold and open, very, very vast, and we changed that to the woods, a very enclosed area, because we felt that had more of a feeling that she was enclosed and compact but not comfortable, giving Irina and the character the feeling that she wanted to get out of that space and to be able to then explore and things like that.
I think it did, especially, I mean, we wrote a synopsis to begin with not knowing the full story, so obviously we wrote the synopsis, the outcome sort of fits that synopsis and the one that we wrote afterwards to fit the film that we'd made. So yeah, I think, you know, it fit what we imagined, and I'm hoping that, you know, it puts across the message that is there in the final video as well, that the entire message for Irina and MuHa. I think it came out better than we expected, because me and Jason, we sat there once we'd edited that, once we'd got a draft edit, once we'd gone over it and got, say, a draft edit of what we wanted it to be, I think that it turned out a lot better.
I think one of the most impressive things about this whole project has been how Irina's been able to take on such a personal project and creatively transform it into something beautiful. It has really been quite an emotional journey for her, both physically in terms of braving the cold in her dress, and in terms of tackling a story that's really close to her heart. The story, the 9/11 terrorist attacks, was something that changed the world and affected us all, and it was quite incredible how far-reaching the implications of that have been, even down to us here in the UK, and the personal stories and how people have been affected.
This video is going to be the tribute for 9/11, and I feel it is not just a music video, it is a historical moment for my family, for myself. It will be in the 9/11 Memorial Museum in New York, and it will be on YouTube for everybody to see.
Next, for us as filmmakers, and myself and Brett Metal Films, I think next is just trying more videos out, trying something new every time we do. Every new project we do, we always want to try and do something we haven't done before, and really to just push ourselves and just keep going, just keep working, doing as many projects as we can, and you know, I'm looking forward to it.
Next for Metal Films. We've got a lot on, and it's going to be exciting because we've got some great visual stuff coming up. Basically me and Jason spearheading the projects with the crew that we've got. We're trying to make everything better than the last thing. So it's looking good. It's the first 8 months so far have been amazing, and the next years to come are going to be fantastic.
We're recording the second album.
Already recorded 2 songs, and I've got scheduled to record more.
We have the agent, and I hope that we will grow further and share our music with more people.